did like 2 freaking heavy cranks, and she freaking annihilated it, bro. Got the big old gaff, boys. Got the big old gaff. Dude, smoked it. How about it, boys? It's a 7-pounder right there. What a beaut, dude. I had one of those epiphananical kind of moments. Epiphananical. Oh. So I'm out on the water. I'm down in Florida. It's been like 172 degrees, literally. Like not 100 degrees, 172. Bite's been tough. You know, it's late summer, we're going into fall. Not only is it hot, but like that transitionary period is always difficult. Got stormed off the lake. As you can probably see, the boat's soaked, and you can probably hear the thunder in the background. But I had an epiphananical kind of moment. I figured something out. I love throwing swim baits. You know, I've been actually throwing quite a bit, like that guy, been throwing that guy. But the one thing that you'll notice with both of those is they're lead heads, right? Like, so it's your standard kind of swim bait rig, just like that. 3/4 ounce head. It's a Bass Mafia Zell Dangerous, you know, on a hook. Like pretty straightforward, traditional. And the reality is there are points in the year, and I think late summer is one of them. I think fall is one of them. And then as we get into the cold water periods, when just your traditional naked swim bait doesn't cut it, or sometimes they literally will not bite it, and you make one little change and it completely changes the attitude of the fish, and you start getting bites. I love fishing a swim bait. If you love fishing a swim bait, I think you're gonna dig this video and my epiphananical kind of moment. Hit that like and subscribe button. I'm gonna throw you a little tip for late summer going into fall that you can use with big swim baits, small swim baits, any kind of swim bait, and literally you will throw the exact same swim bait and you will get bit. One little tweak literally lights them up, and that's putting some kind of blade on it. This is actually how I've been rigging it. This is a flashy swimmer, so 6-inch Bass Mafia, Zell Dangerous, Texas Gizzard, 10-aught flashy swimmer from Owner, and this is the 1/2 ounce. Interestingly enough, you need that weight to keep this bait down. I've been fishing it in like 10 to 15, 10 to 20 feet of water or so. What's cool is I've been fishing a lot of brush, so it provides me with a weedless rig, a rig that I can kind of reel through grass. I can reel it through brush. I can basically not worry about getting snagged. Only downside is it's not exactly your finesse swim bait rig. So I have 20-pound fluorocarbon on my SLX. This is a Halo 7.5 medium heavy. It's more on the heavier side of medium heavy, so you need stout stuff. And I know a lot of you guys from up north, or just, you know, maybe you have a smaller size bass population, are looking at me and going, bro, Well, let me tell you, the smaller ones will eat this, but stay tuned in the video. We're gonna go through some other rigs and styles of rigging to basically put a blade on some smaller swim baits, because I think that's the real key. This later summer time of year, and especially in fall, and then you see it in winter too, especially if you don't have very clear water or the fish are extremely suspended, they really get keyed in on something that has flash. And obviously, you know, the main reasons are, and JT always talks about it, you know, I got stormed off the lake, so it's volatile weather. When it gets cloudy, when it gets windy, when it gets volatile, you get out something with a blade, spinnerbait, chatterbait, something along those lines. It just fits. The water's broken up, there's not as much light penetration, it gives water displacement, so they're able to locate it. It also gives them flash, so they're kind of chase it. It's a reaction style deal. The thing though that I think it does that really plays a different role, as we get to later summer, these fish suspend a lot more, and they're really a lot more pelagic. They're a lot more focused on bait. So in a way, having that blade on there looks like a couple fish together. They're much more keyed in on pods of bait, pods of fish. The other thing too is it gives it a very unique action. When you put a blade on any of these swim baits, whether it's the Zell Dangerous, a Kitech, whatever you like throwing, a hollow body, the lift and the way the bait sort of suspends and shimmies in the water changes. And especially with those fish being more suspended and focused on that bait or that pelagic kind of lifestyle, I think it sets up a lot better in the water column and fishes a lot better for where those fish are actually looking and what they're doing. There's a lot of ways to achieve this bladed presentation and get that thump, get that flash. Flashy swimmer, there's a lot of different like knockoffs of it too. I think VMC makes one, Trokar makes one. Basically though, you have a swim swim bait belly weighted hook with a screw lock that has some kind of blade attached to it, and they all kind of have little different actions. Personally, I like the Flashy Swimmer because I like the weight placement on it. That belly weight gives it kind of an interesting fall through the water column when you actually kill it, and I like where the blade comes off of it because it's in sort of that dead center where the hook is. So if those fish are coming and they're actually hitting that blade, they're actually basically hitting the dead center of that bait right where that 10-aught hook is, because you need every advantage you can get when you got a 10-aught hook. So some other presentations, especially for you guys who want to throw maybe smaller swim baits like a Kitech, just downsized stuff like your 4-inch, your 3-inch, your more finesse stuff. One of the cool new ones is what's called first gen. So it's a little bit pricey. I'll put links to all this stuff at Tackle Warehouse for you guys to check out. First gen is basically, it's a medium-sized hook. It's probably like a 3-aught or a 4-aught hook, but basically this is a 1/2 ounce. It has that micro blade on it, and that's one of the tricks too. I don't want a giant like willow leaf blade, and the willow leaf is pretty much the only blade that I'll have, but it has this sort of very flexible but always comes back into place arm. It's your traditional kind of like overhead spin. One of the reasons that I like the overhead spin is more for going over things like grass and stuff like that. When it comes to fishing actual cover, I like baits that have that blade below them. So for instance, let me show you another one. This is the Scottsboro Underspin. I really like this one, and I've smashed spotted bass on it. It has a screw lock right there. The only downside with this guy is compared to the first gen offers a much more stout hook, whereas with this guy, it's a much more fine wire hook, which I have bent, but the reality is, you know, it's a finer wire hook, so you fish it like it's a finer wire hook. The bottom spins, though, I like when I'm fishing around harder cover, shell, wood, things along those lines, because what it does is it allows you to actually feel and interact with that cover before that hook ever gets there. So this guy around grass, when you have that arm, not really worried about hanging grass. I can always rip it and pop it out. But when you're dealing with that harder cover, having that blade down to the bottom is almost like an insurance policy, so you can tick some of that stuff, kind of run it tight without worrying, or at least with getting a signal before you know you're actually going to hang it up. The other one that I really like is this guy. If you're gonna fish deep, this is actually one that I have messed them up on in Florida. If you have ultra deep fish and you're using bigger swim baits, for instance, I'd use the Zell Dangerous on this. This is actually the Spin Tricks by Blade Runner. I don't know if you guys can see that. This is the 1 ounce version. It's big. And once again, it incorporates that screw lock. Blade is attached right at the front. For some reason, and I know others make this in particular one gets me more bites than any other brand sort of big-headed underspin that I've used. I don't know why that is. It also, though, you do lose some fish, so you got to be careful about fighting them, keeping them down, and that there is something unique about that head. The teardrop weight kind of comes down, so instead of that head just being one big kind of, I don't know, conglomeration, it does drip down right there, which does cause this bait. It still goes head first down, but it does have a little more of a belly weight or a setback weight, so you do get a little more of a pendulum fall. One of the ways I like to actually fish this is much like tight lining with a Kitech, where I'll actually just kill it, and this thing, you know, use a semi-taut line and it'll just pendulum down, and I think that weight being sort of displaced backwards actually gives it kind of a more unique fall than some of the other brands that basically just take a swim bait head and they stick a blade on it. But you can do this practically with any swim bait. Like I said, I've been catching them on the Zell Dangerous right here, in this pattern, this Texas Gizzard right here. But you know, whether it's a Kitech, you know, Bass Tricks, any kind of swim bait, you can do these presentations with, and I guarantee you will be blown away. You'll be throwing your naked traditional lead head swim bait to these fish, and you will watch them on an active target, or you'll just be fishing them and nothing will happen. they will not respond. You will turn around and put a blade on that presentation and start reeling, and all of a sudden, doop, 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 they'll start smoking it. I don't know what it is, and it literally starts kind of like August, September, and then moves through fall. But there is something with that blade, even on flat conditions where you don't have like volatile, stormy conditions like we have today, where they just react more to that blade. It draws them in, whether it's the flash or how it suspends or kind of hovers the bait a little bit differently than your traditional lead head. I don't know what it is, but I can tell you one thing: you're going to get more bites if you incorporate it into your arsenal. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I am going to get back out there and actually throw that Bass Mafia a little bit more. I've been catching some bigs on it. It's kind of fun. It's been kind of a grind, but dude, when they smoke something with a 10-aught hook that's 6 inches long that looks like that, it's usually a sizable critter. So we're going to do some more of that. Hit that like and subscribe button. We'll see you guys back out on the water talking fishing.